Well, hello guys. Welcome to another Hot Mess Sunday as I'm joining the What Would You Make collaboration. That's why we're here an hour early. But let's get this party started. Whoop, whoop. Here's going to probably be my last little Halloween video, except for candy corn coming up on Friday with my good friend Cheryl from Homeridge Studio. Back to What Would You Make right here. I've got this little coffin sign from Dollar Tree. Now we know this is the MDF stuff, but here's where your wood's going to come into play. These are the longer little slats that you can get at the Dollar Tree. So we're going to take this coffin here. I'm going to use my saw. We're going to do some sawing because remember, like you've heard before, I don't have any big tools. And yes, I'm actually going to do some measuring. Oh boy, it's going to get hot in here. Okay, so here we go. We got to get this paper off, of course, and we got to fill in that hole in the dap. I wanted to just show you how easy that this paper on this sign came off. I was like so impressed. I just stuck these wet paper towels on, let them soak for a while I was busy doing something else, taking the measurements and all that kind of stuff. And oh my, this paper just came off so easy. There was only like 2 places I had to take my little scraper here and scrape it off. Like, holy guacamole, bam, done. Look at that. And then, of course, we'll take our dry gun here, our heat gun, and bam, there she is. She's a beauty. Got her all cleaned up, sanded down, put the tape on the back so the dap wouldn't push through the hole. We'll get that all sanded down once that baby's dry, all smooth and pretty, and that's going to be the base of our little witch cabinet apothecary shelf. Yes, I'm going to take some measurements. Welcome to the What Would You Make. I will give you some more information about these beautiful ladies there. Make sure you're going and checking out my description box for all those ladies' channel links and the playlist link. So here you can see if you want to pause this, stop this. These are the measurements, but you'd probably be better off to take your own because when I did the top and the bottom, I needed to actually make it a little bit longer to make everything kind of match up. So you can kind of see here, I changed it. It's 5.5 on the bottom and top, but I changed it to a 5 3/4. I had to lengthen that a little bit. Now the one you see at a 7, nope, don't do that one. Keep it at a 6.5. And then the longer sides were 17.5, I think, maybe. I don't know. You're better off take your own measurements. I needed to make the top and bottom a little bit longer than just the measurement of the board so that they would stick past the widths of the slats on the side. Moose is helping out here, like always, right? Y'all loving the Moose man. Okay. So if you zoom in, you pause it, you can see my measurements a little bit better. So we've got our top and no, these are the sides toward the top at a 6.5, the top and bottom a 5 3/4, and then the sides were like a 17.5. I sanded all down after I cut those pieces and all that good stuff, so everything is nice and smooth. We're going to use some Tight Bond Quick and Thick here, just like our Brenda uses. And then I'm also going to use a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to put the glues on the sides of our slats here, and those came from Dollar Tree as well. You need like 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, get 4 of them. Okay, and we're going to make it mostly the Tight Bond and just a little bit of the hot glue. I just want that temporary hold of the hot glue to hold it together, but I want to make sure that this has got a good permanent hold. So I sat there and I held that tight against that for a pretty good while, but cut that out because you all don't want to see all that. And then just take my finger, run it down to get rid of, you know, getting some glue in there and all the cracks. Moose is checking it out. Make sure I'm doing it right again. I was like, am I doing it right, the Moosey? So then I go ahead and put my other side on. And I squeeze and I hold that and press it real tight right up against the sides. I didn't put it on top of the base. I pushed it against the side of the base. And then I added some more Tight Bond and then just ran my finger down the side to really squeeze it in those holes, okay? Now, here's where my bottom and my top, it measured at a 5.5, but I needed to make it a 5 3/4 so it would also go past the ends of the edges of the slats and it all kind of lined up. Instead of fitting right at it, I made it a little longer. You could fit it inside it, but then put it on top. Anyway, I'm surprised this actually came out. It actually worked, guys. Again, you can see I got more Tight Bond than I do the hot glue. And then I'm just taking this, I'm pressing it, I pushed it, I held it for a while, and then pardon my big old noggin, and then just again took the Tight Bond, ran it, stuck my finger in it to run it against the edges. Okay, now here's the top sides not the top, but the sides at the top where it starts to angle. And I believe those were like 6.5, I think. And this is where a lot of my problem comes in, is right there in those corners where the two pieces meet. I'm sure you probably could have measured this, and if you were smart and you were a math person, you could angle this correctly and they would butt up against each other and fit all perfect with the angles. But look, y'all, I'm doing good to use a tape measure, and I did good to make sure to measure the top and the bottom of this coffin to look like it was, it went past the ends and it all was lined up all the way around. So the fact that this is the worst part of the project is where these two pieces meet right here at these corners. I was pretty proud of myself. Did the same thing. Tight bond, hot glue, bumped it, pressed it, pushed it, and then added some more on the edges. You can see the white streak all the way through there. And I went all the way around there. So this is where our wood is coming into play. This is the only project I have in here, but like I said, y'all know I don't use a tape measure, and y'all know I don't build big things because I don't have big tools. That's the biggest tool I got is my miter box and my hacksaw. And boy, I got a drill coming later, and I had to drill some holes and sewing stuff. And look at that. Look at that. I'm actually pretty impressed with myself. I actually really was. I did this in one day, and I let that all sit overnight. We made sure that that was all sanded down there. Now we could tell that I could see the light shining through, see the holes where it didn't press up against, because we know some Dollar Tree signs, they aren't the same on both sides, right? Even though my measurements were the same, maybe. And what I'm going to do is just take my tight bond and just kind of put the glue. This is the back side of it. And I'm just going all the way around with my tight bond, just whoop, all the way around and letting it ooze back in anywhere there's an open gap. I will take my finger and run it along the sides to smush that all down in. I'm making sure this is going to hold. This is not going to come apart. I guarantee you that. The shells may fall out of this, but this is not going to come apart, okay? Except for maybe those corners right there. Anyway, that's another story for another day. But there she is, and we're going to let it sit overnight, and we're going to come back tomorrow, and we're going to have some fun now. I'm going to take my DAP. I also used some of the caulking that's in a tube, but then I thought, well, I don't know if the paint's going to go over that very well. So I went to my DAP here, and let me tell you, this isn't the Dollar Tree DAP. I can't find the Dollar Tree spackle at my Dollar Tree anymore, and I know a lot of you have had that problem. I can't find it anymore either, and so I got this from Walmart, but it works really good. And I'm filling in all the cracks and all that kind of stuff, and I'm on the inside, but I'm mostly just filling in these corners right here at the top where those edges bumped up. And like I said, had I been a smart person and a woodworker, I probably could have angled those so that they would have butted up against each other, and I wouldn't have had to do this step. But you know what? It's okay, because this becomes actually very therapeutic here in a few minutes. And you will see the therapy that begins to form and happen as I create this, okay? Because yes, this is day 2 that I'm working on this puppy. Just filling it all in. And I didn't want to do this part until I made sure that everything was glued together tight, so that hopefully it wouldn't fall apart while I was filling in all the cracks here. So that is what is happening right here. As I was mentioning before we go any further, welcome to the What Would You Make with Rustic and Lace DIY, Divine Designs, and our beautiful co-host, the Crafty Doll. Can I tell you guys just how therapeutic this is to just make a mess? So now I've got it flipped on the back. I'm just taking gobs of this, and I am literally just going to town and just rubbing this everywhere. Like, this just is so, I don't know, it's satisfying. Oh, it is. It's just, guys, if you want some therapy, play in some DAP and some caulk. Oh, it's just so, like, look at that. Look at that. Oh, it's so therapeutic. Boy. Okay, so kind of broke in a little bit there and got a little bit of therapy going on there, and it was fun. Make sure you go check out all those beautiful ladies' channel list at my description box. Brenda, Rustic and Lace DIY, Christine with Divine Designs, and Miss Crafty Doll, our guest host this month. Yes, and the playlist link will be in my description box as well. So this was day 2, my therapy session of getting all my caulk in there, and now we are on day 3. Yes, this was a process. This took me about a week to do, so I got down to the final hairs toward the end, and it didn't get the final steps I wanted in, but we could always do that later. Anyway, back to the project at hand that I'm doing here. This is day 3. It is all dry. I took it, sanded it, got it all done. Now, still in day 3, after I get it all sanded and smooth like butter, we're going to take, I've got all these pieces of wood. Now, those big chunks came from my friend Shelly out of her scrap pile. Those little signs, this came from my friend Shelly. But all the thin slat pieces like this one and then the 2 longer ones, that's all Dollar Tree stuff. It ended up, that's all I used, were those 2 longer signs, and then, and I haven't even found those at my Dollar Tree anymore with the little strings on them. And then the ones you buy, those that you buy in a 6-pack, that's what that was. And I can't remember how many I used. I think I used both, or maybe just one of the longer ones that's on a string as a sign, and I think I might have used 2 or 3, no, probably not even that much, of those ones that you buy in a 6-pack. And then I also, you'll see in a little bit, I used some Jenga blocks and, well, the tumbling tower blocks, the smaller ones, and then also some of the square cubes. Look at me using a tape measure again. Oh my goodness, yes I am. So you can see that these stuck out taller than the sides of the coffin shelf. That's what we're going to call it, our witch coffin apothecary shelf. There you go. So what I'm doing here is I'm needing to cut like some of the side off. It fits lengthwise, but I need to cut some of the width. So, and all of these are so thin, you can just take your like box cutter, razor blade, thingamajigger, you know, me and my, you know, I don't even know the names of my tools here. And I got a metal ruler. This is just to help me keep a straight line. That came from Dollar Tree too. And you can just keep scoring this quite a few times. And yeah, it probably took me a good quite a few times. Quite a few times. I'm telling you, I don't math. Numbers is not how my brain rolls. I am a reading teacher. I work with letters, not numbers. Okay, and there's a good reason for that. Now, after I made all the cuts on all of these, I sanded it down just a little. Watch it. Be careful when you go to, you know, not saw, but cut these and then sand them down a little bit because they are pretty fragile. So they can splinter, break, snap real easy. Anyway, so I'm down at the bottom of the coffin part right here, and I just made a slat go all the way across. I just took one and just put it to where it fit good and then just cut the top of it off so it was the same height. Now I'm thinking, okay, I need something maybe to make sure that's supported a little bit since these are so thin. And so I'm just using some Dollar Tree cubes there that you buy in the pack. And I'm just going to place those underneath the shelf. See, I'm making sure it's tight on the sides there. And then I'm tracing it because I'm going to put the glue down in the base down there. So see, I'm going to put my glue in my little stripes I made. I'm mostly, once again, going to use Titebond and then just a little bit of hot glue to give it that permanent. I'm going to go up the sides. I mean, the hot glue's for the temporary. But like I said, I'm going to use mostly Titebond because I want to make sure this stays. I'm just going to put the hot glue kind of just in the corners on the side and then down around. We'll slide this back in. I'll make sure it is in there tight. I always keep lifting it up and making sure that it is straight because I can't see and the camera's like lower than my head and I keep bonking. If the camera ever shakes or anything, I think I might have cut it all out. But I keep bonking my head on where my phone is. And yeah, because I still record my phone because that's all I got, you know, but it works. Hey, we working on a small budget here. Anywho, so now I'm going to take my little squares. Now that that's in there pretty good. And then I could try to wipe as much glue off as I could. But you know what? It is what it is. This is Halloween-y. If it ain't pretty, it's okay. This is the thing I found out that's great about making Halloween projects is that it's supposed to be, you know, kind of, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's Halloween-y. So if it's all messed up, you know what? It's okay. So I didn't stress too much. Anyway, I just fly through this a little bit, just cutting some more. I used the slats. I used the scraps off the slats. So some of my shelves do come up the same height as the sides, but some of my shelves, like the ones that maybe go up and down instead of sideways like this, I'm up at the top now. And I made another shelf up here at the top. So these two shelves are the same height as the sides on the coffin. But then there's a lot of shelves that I make going up and down that are actually shorter than the sides of the coffin. So I gave that top one some brace as well. And then later on, you'll see there'll be some more cubes. I actually put 2 cubes on top of each other instead of just the 1 cube in the back. Anywho, so now I'm just taking my scraps and now I'm just cutting little pieces. So these won't be as tall, but I kind of thought it gave it a neat look. Instead of all the shelves being all the same height, my big shelves that go from side to side are the same height, but my shelves that go up and down, those are shorter. I thought it looked pretty cool. It's a little different dimension there. You know, it's not all the same. It's not all exact. You're going to see like this one's kind of in the middle, and these little clamps from Dollar Tree work pretty good. I couldn't put them in all the places I wanted them, but put them in some. Here I am sticking some more Titebond in this, and I squeezed hot glue down in those cracks because, like I said, this was day 3 after it had dried, and it was cracked, and you could bend it, and it would pop apart, and you know, but anyway, it's still holding together though, by goodness. So see, you can see here, I've got a tall, skinny cubby hole, and then a big cubby hole and a small cubby hole at the bottom. And I just go to town with this, and I don't show you everything because this is just however you want to do it, making these shelves on the inside. But guys, all I used was that pack of the thin packs of slat wood from Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square. I used the tumbling tower blocks, the little smaller ones, and then I used the cubes. So every bit of this shelf was Dollar Tree stuff. The back, the coffin sign, the thicker wooden, I think they were 1/4 inch width slats that were longer than a foot, I think. I don't know. But anyway, this was every bit Dollar Tree. Every bit of it, except for the glue and the spackle DAP stuff. Every bit of this was Dollar Tree wood. Every bit of it. So I was pretty proud of myself. Anyway, so you can see I'm trying to tighten, hold those corners with those little clamps there from the Dollar Tree. And it's good so far. It hasn't cracked back apart yet, again, even after I painted it. But I've got so much DAP and glue and hot glue and Titebond and yeah. Anyway, so you're going to see after just showing you kind of this, I know I needed more stuff in the middle. Bam, there you go. So I just took some other scraps of wood and some cubes and some tumbling tower blocks. You can see how it is all different sizes. This is day 4. After this set overnight and dried with all my little shelves, I'm going to paint it with my ink chalk paint, but I'm going to water it down a little bit because this is a pretty big piece, actually. Those coffin signs, I got them last year at Dollar Tree. I haven't seen any this year. But last year I got them, and they're actually pretty tall. So so you can see there's my corners there. See, not too bad. Like I said, doesn't have to be perfect. It's Halloweeny, you know. It's going to be a witch cabinet, her witch shelf. Anywho, anyway, back to the paint that I was saying. I did sand it all down. I did wipe it all down. Blew all the glue I could out. Anyway, we're taking our ink chalk paint there, and I didn't want to like totally cover this really thick because that thing is big, and getting in all the corners and cracks of the shelves and all that was going to take a lot of paint. So that's another reason I watered it down. But also watering it down and thinning it out kind of made it look kind of faded in some areas. So gave it more of kind of that creepy little look there. Now the back I know isn't great, but you know what? That's okay. We're not going to look at the back, right? I thought about you can cover that. I've got some of that pretty paper. That's the peel and stick paper from Dollar Tree. That is the white with like the black roses and stuff. You could cover that. You could have, I thought about after the fact, before I put all the shelves in, I probably should have covered the back, the tomb coffin looking part with that white vinyl paper with the pretty black roses that you can buy at Dollar Tree in like the kitchen section where you can buy all the shelf liner, that's what I'm thinking of, and cover that and then put my shelves in And then that would have been a real pretty background to all the stuff. Anywho, whatever. You see me just doing a bunch of stuff. There you go. We're painted black. And I got that dry. And now I'm taking, you saw I pulled out my antique wax, the white wax. I pulled out some silver. I pulled out some pink rose gold stuff. I wasn't sure how I wanted to, like, not texture this up, but give it some I don't know, is dimension the word? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, we're using the antique wax right now, and I'm just kind of making sure that's in the corners. I'm just giving it that grungy look, because, again, Halloween, witch shelf, her apothecary shelf, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of apothecary with all the bottles and stuff, but it's kind of not. It's kind of like the witch's shelf. Yeah, anywho. All right, so now that was all done, and I'm letting that dry after I got some brown antique wax on it. And I realized, darn it, I forgot I needed a base on the bottom of this, because otherwise it's going to get top heavy, or it's kind of weak and it's not going to stand. So I need a base on it. That also came from Dollar Tree. Anywho, now I've got some screws here. Either I found screws that were too short or screws that were too long, and then I put the screws in the top of the base and realized, no, you ding dong, you want the screws to go up through the bottom of the base into the bottom of the coffin. So I've got holes everywhere, but you know what? Hey, well, I'm learning. I put wood glue from the Dollar Tree all over the bottom of that, and I got that centered on pretty good. I didn't measure this time, but I just kind of centered it on pretty good. And then what I did is I drew some holes in the bottom. You can see my holes right there. And I have some flathead screws that I did find that would work. I only got 2 of them. Now, I'm trying to show you that I really did do this, I promise. And I'm trying to show you, but hold my phone at the same time, and that didn't work. But I did do that. I did promise you. I did it all by myself. I drilled the holes just a little bit. Don't drill your hole all the way through. Just enough to get the screw started. And then the screw went up through the base. Boo says, good job. Went up through the coffin, but did not come out through the bottom of the coffin. And then I screwed them up in there high enough, and being a flathead screw, it does not wobble or anything. I got them up there, and it's sturdy, and it's good, and it's standing, and it doesn't wobble unless somebody decides to ram into it with their head or their whole body. Not that anything like that would happen around here in my craft room with some certain people. Anywho, so I was pretty proud of myself for getting that base on. I'm taking my antique wax, and we're just rubbing that all on and getting that all gooped up there. The plan is I wanted to take that and put some like moss on it when I was all done and start to decorate, but I kind of ran out of time with the decorating inside part. But this is all about the wood, right? So we got the main part done with the wood. I can always do a separate video on the inside stuff later on next year or something. But anyway, and you could just look, you now you know what you can do. You can make you a little shelf. It doesn't have to be perfect. It could be all different sizes and different shells, and look at that. So this is the main deal right here. It's just, look, and I found that little crow, and I was going to put that in there. And then I'm just running through of all the stuff. This is Dollar Tree stuff. I've got some cool little funky candles I made last year with pill bottles. I've got trees. I've got Gracie in the Way. I've got all sorts of floral stuff. I've got mushrooms. I've got things from Michael's. I've got things from Hobby Lobby. Most of this stuff, as you can tell by the labels, are from Dollar Tree. That is from Dollar General, and that was $3 for those 3 kitties. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. So you know I had to get that. Now, Moose and Gracie both are here helping me go through my loot. There was so much I wanted to do and put into this little Apothecary witch shelf. Look, I just got all sorts of stuff. Frames, skeletons, pumpkins, letters, lights, just random pieces of just anything and everything, and frames and crosses and clocks and mushrooms and skeletons, and that's a bunch of like Tim Holtz metal stuff and some barbed wire. And I just wanted to go to town. Keys, cobweb, moss, creepy cloth. Here's my little potion bottles, all from Dollar Tree, most of this stuff. I had marbles, rocks. I wanted to do so much with this. Here comes the little potion bottles, and one of them was broken. I was so sad. But I got all of these at the Target dollar spot like 2-3 years ago. And just like, oh yeah, those came from Target dollar spot too. Like if I see a little apothecary jar, like I buy it. And you could totally redo it, paint it, put labels on it. But there it is, guys. I just threw in there what I thought. There was so much I wanted to make. I wanted to make little brooms. I wanted to make some books. I wanted to just put stuff in the little bottles and put labels on the bottles that didn't have a label, but I ran out of time. But this is the wood. This is the What Would You Make collaboration. So we got the main part done. The wood was our cabinet. What you put inside your little cabinet shelf is all up to you. Put your shelves however you wanna. Where that little skeleton is with the shovel, I thought that was pretty funny. That was supposed to be the little witch's broom section, and I was gonna make some witch brooms out of some sticks and some raffia, but I didn't get to that. So I put my little wooden cats in there though that I made on my last video. You guys go check out my videos that I'll have linked in the description box, and you'll see a couple here at the end that if you see some things that you like that you might want to check out, go check it out. But like my little kitties with the little wiggly eyes in there, I also the little ghost there with the little pumpkin, and my little witchy gnome here, and then there's some apothecary stuff with a bottle and a spell book. I'll have those videos links as well. Guys, check out the playlist. Oh, I'm so glad y'all are here. I love you.